Hello, everybody. Everyone's audio is on and working.
Good afternoon.
Excellent. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, thanks for joining us. So this is the second in our series of Forage PEI webinars. If you joined us last week, you got to hear from Tracy and Bill Pratt talking about the future of the food service industry. This week, we're kind of looking more towards those companies that have thought about setting up an online store. And how do you set up the store? How do you deliver everything to the consumers, and all the ins and outs that are involved with that. I knew that this was a huge topic when about 3 weeks ago, my father-in-law that's run a gift shop for about 30 years, he called me one Saturday morning and said, I want to set up an online store. I've got a domain. It's pretty easy, isn't it? I'll just hire a teenager to run it. And so after about 30 minutes of kind of going through with him and giving him some details, he said, well, maybe I'll see how the season goes. So I know, for everybody, sometimes it fits, sometimes it doesn't. And really that's the purpose for today, is for us just to get together, look at what's worked for some organizations, kind of what you need to consider, before you jump into online and just selling online. So I'm Kent Thompson. I'm the Director of Finance and Food Tourism with Food Island Partnership. And we work together with the Forage PEI Industry Committee, putting on the annual symposium in October on food tourism. But we put together this series of webinars to really help the industry right now in this time of crisis, and really try to get together and work together so we can help solve some of these problems together. The webinar will be recorded, so if you have to sneak out for a couple of minutes, that you can catch up on it in the next couple of days. We'll be on the Forage PEI website and on foodislandpei.ca. If you have questions throughout the webinar, just ask them. They're on the little panel to the right, and I'll just be going through and sending those along to our moderator. And so we'll get started. So again, this week we have Tracy Singleton, who's the owner and president of Versatile Management Group and the chair of the Forage Committee, moderating. So I'll pass it over to you, Tracy.
Thanks, Kent. Thanks. It's great to be here for our second webinar. We had a great chat last weekend with Chef Pratt, so looking forward to learning lots about the new online stores that are popping up in response to COVID-19. I'd like to start off by introducing the panelists that we have with us today, all island-based entrepreneurs and business folks. Starting off, we have Heather Ogg. Heather Ogg is a web developer and photographer. She works with Technomedia PEI. Technomedia has also been instrumental to Forage PEI in terms of doing all of our creative design, and I know Heather's got a lot of experience launching some online stores over the last couple of months, especially. I know in your career you've done over 300 websites, so certainly looking to gain a lot of perspective from the work that you've been doing. We also have Mitch Cobb with us, who is a member of the Forage Committee as well, and Mitch is with Upstreet Brewing. And when I think of innovation, I think of Upstreet Brewing, I think of Mitch. And so we're going to hear a little bit about Mitch's online store, curbside pickup, delivery options that they've instituted over the last couple of months. And then finally, we have Bernie Plourde, who is the manager at the Charlottetown Farmers Market Co-op. Again, they've launched a new online shop, so looking forward to learning from Bernie in terms of the experiences that they've encountered over the last couple of weeks in terms of getting that live, and perhaps some of the things that you've learned. So I think what I'm going to do, Heather, is start off directly with you and find out, I guess, what's been your experiences especially over the last couple of months in terms of dealing with different businesses. What are they looking for? What kind of shops are you setting up? What are some of the challenges you've been facing over this kind of period?
Okay, well, it's been kind of crazy, to say the least. I think a lot of people used to think they had some time to get online with their stores. Like, a lot of people have websites. People thought that e-commerce was basically optional, and unfortunately hit us like a brick wall. So everybody all of a sudden was, scrambling, as if you didn't have enough business problems to begin with this. Now all of a sudden, you didn't have the tools you needed in place to help. So we helped people from the get-go, and we put in sort of solutions that were really quick at the beginning, and then we sort of got into a system where we were able to do more. So yeah, so very quick, and we had to come up with solutions really fast, and because there's little options you can do to save on costs and quickness, get something up there and then develop the real deal and replace it kind of thing when you have more time. But we really did have to get people going right away.
Awesome. And what about you, Mitch? Tell us a little bit about the Upstreet experience, especially over the last couple of months, in terms of perhaps what you folks have been doing and some of the learnings that you've taken away from that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Heather talks about needing to move quickly, and that's definitely was our experience. We operate in a bit of a regulated environment, and so breweries weren't allowed to do deliveries until they announced that liquor stores were closing. So we got word on, I think it was a Friday around 7 p.m. that we could start doing deliveries. So we had to scramble really quickly. And I think by Wednesday of the following week, we had our online store up and running. And it's been a real whirlwind ever since then. I mean, we had always intended to have an online store of some sort. So we have been kind of talking about it and planning it, and we always kind of came up against, some challenges like the logistics around how we operate an online store. So this really kind of just threw us into it and made us jump. So, getting the online store was sort of the first part, probably like 10% of the whole project, and then figuring out the logistics, the inventory, the delivery. All of those things we've been kind of working out as we go along.
Excellent. Bernie, I think you mentioned that this is your second launch, your second attempt at the online store. Maybe walk us through maybe some of the challenges the first time and some of the learnings, the takeaways as you got ready to launch the second edition.
It continues to be a challenge, but we're I think a little more mature in the process. Our last market day was on March the 14th. We closed after that, so zero revenues coming into the market. We figured, well, the vendors can't put the produce back into the ground. We have to find some kind of way to get the produce to market. So within a week we went ahead and did an online. Not understanding the process of online, it was decided to not continue with that online for the market. There's a few glitches platform-wise and the process systems. So we reviewed the process. I could have called Heather. It took about 3 weeks to find a platform we were comfortable with that could take the amount of vendors we have. We had started with 15, 20 on the 21st. We're up to almost 38 or 39 vendors at present. We have 2,000 items to pack every Saturday, 200 to 225 bags. We have cold products, fresh products like baked goods, to fresh produce. We also have liquor. So there's a multitude of different licensing and things that you have to worry about how the shopper will receive the product. We're so used to being a social enterprise here where people just come in and socialize. It's a weekend gathering. With COVID-19, all that went away. So we're still trying to make it some kind of a social outing for folks that come to the market. It's touchless pickup, so people put a sign in their window, put the bag in their trunk, and away they go. Big thing is systems, ensuring that you have the capacity to provide what you're actually telling someone on the on the online site that they will receive. That was a big learning curve for us.
So tell us a little bit about that. That kind of leads into my next question, the customer service aspects of dealing with an online shop. So I think Mitch might have referenced that the first step is just getting the shop. That's 10%. So talk to us about what's happening on the back end and what kind of processes you have to factor in once you do decide to go online. What's happening on the back end at the store level after the shop is going live? And Mitch or Bernie, feel free to jump in. The customer service aspects, answering the questions, people wanting to do returns. How are you dealing with those customer service elements from the shop?
Are you asking Mitch and Bernie, or?
Anyone? Bernie, if we can start with you, perhaps you referenced it there. And
well, first we try to minimize those things. We do an inventory count when things come in, so we know that we're starting with the proper number of items we're supposed to have on hand. And then we have some quality control after we put everything in bags. So we still have a certain percentage of people that do not get what they asked for. We might have double bagged something or forgot it, because at the end of the day, you know, I'm scratching my head. Why is that block of cheese still in the fridge? That was ordered. So most of our shoppers will call us and say, you forgot this item in the bag. So what we do is there's 3 staff and we drive out and deliver, or we give a credit. And we're trying to minimize that. That's something that we put into our budget, that we may have some loss somewheres with credits. We're dealing with jars, things get spilled over and broken, so we're like, oops. So we'll have to. This system, at least we can call the shopper immediately when we know something is missing and let them know beforehand, so they know before they come and get their groceries that they've been refunded something, and they don't have to wait a week or a day to get refunded. We try and do that as much as we can. We've given out prizes as well to individuals for their patience. Sometimes we will ask our vendors to bring a few extras. So in case we misidentify something or misbag, we'll replace it with something else, and write a little apology, a little thank you note with the bag going out.
Excellent. Mitch, what's been your experience on the customer service side? What have you learned?
I mean, it's great to hear Bernie's experience, because our experience here at Upstreet is very similar. I think the first part of the customer experience is managing your inventory and making sure that that you have the inventory to send out, and that you're managing the online store to make sure that, when you run out of a product, people aren't trying to order it. We ran into issues as well with trying to define the parameters of where we'll do delivery. So we have basically 3 modes of delivery pickup. So we have curbside pickup, we have a delivery, same-day delivery in Charlottetown, Cornwall, and Stratford, and then we have 1 to 2 day delivery island-wide. And so the way that our website's set up with the parameters, it's sometimes tricky. So sometimes people can slide through the cracks a little bit, even if they don't necessarily live in Charlottetown or Stratford. So, so that's always an issue. And then we do a lot of bundling different products together and to sell. And so that is a challenge, managing inventory. So that's a big thing. And you kind of think that, like, when you set up a web store, everything is going to happen online. I mean, we very early on hired on Mikey Wasnage, our former marketing manager, to work with us part-time, and we've basically turned our tap room into a fulfillment center. So we may have anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 people plus delivery drivers in there, putting orders together, calling people if the order comes in wrong, or if we need to confirm something, or if the address isn't correct, or if we run out of a product. So there's a lot going on sort of behind the scenes, and then of course when you do mess something up, we often get calls that we forgot something in the delivery. I shouldn't say often, but we're getting better at it. with all of our processes. But running, it takes a lot of time when you drop something off and then you have to come back and then you have to deliver something again. So the more that we can refine the processes, the better the experience for the customer, but also the less time it takes for us. So I mean, all of those things, and what Bernie was saying around, making sure that you're providing a good customer experience, trying not to make the mistakes, and then, when you do make the mistakes, being responsive to them, following up right away, and then fixing the mistake, whether it's with additional product or a different product or some type of refund or credit.
It makes me so happy to hear you guys saying these things that I tell people forever and a day. I'm telling people this thing isn't magic, it doesn't run itself. And sometimes you get people saying, what do you mean I have to log in, and check something? It's like, well, yeah, it's a store. It's a store. You have to manage a store. It's not some magical thing that takes care of itself, So fulfilling orders and all that, you can manage your inventory. I know it's very difficult, but your payment gateways can be like a POS. Use the same payment gateway you're using at your place of business so that the inventories all run through the website. So it's not like two things go on, they're synced together. So there's ways of helping your inventory sync. But yeah, it's so funny because it's a lot of work. Yes,
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know about everybody else. I seem to be working more hours now that the market is closed.
Yeah.
When you're online.
Yeah, I bet. So Heather, just building on that, what about the payment gateways and the e-commerce platforms? Where do we start? Like, where does business start? What kind of costs can they expect to incur? What's involved with this to make sure you get the right platform and the right solution?
Okay, so I have a presentation where I just sort of touch on things. So there's a little bit of a checklist there so people can have that. It's like a checklist, which is great. But your payment gateway, basically how it's how the bridge from the website to your bank account, right? So you can use a merchant account if you have a merchant account at your place of business, but you can also use Stripe, PayPal, Square. Square is one of those ones that people have at their place of business. So you have to manage your inventory in the Square account and sync your website to that. So that's when you want to manage inventory together with that payment gateway. That's the one you would choose. But Stripe is the easiest. PayPal is supposedly the easiest. I think now you need a pro account. I'm not sure, 100% sure about that, but both of those take a percentage, of course. But Stripe is what we recommend if you don't have a merchant account. And a merchant account, depending on who you're with, it's more intensive to hook it up to the site, and you will 99% need to pay for extra plugins that work with your merchant account, whether it's Chase or whatever. There's a plugin for that, and it's been a few $100s a year. I'm just throwing a number out there, but to plug that in and make it work with the website. So,
Mitch, any comments on what you're using and whether it's working for you in terms of the e-commerce platform as well as your payment gateway? Any thoughts on that?
I mean, for the e-commerce platform, we're using Shopify, which seems to be fairly standard, and that's working well for us. We've used a lot of apps in the back end to sort of make the website do what we want to do, and Shopify, wasn't necessarily designed to have all of these different shipping modes, whether it's doing curbside pickup or in-town delivery. So and then island-wide delivery. So we're really kind of trying to push it to its limit a little bit. I mean, the one thing that we've really tried to do, and this was Mikey's big push when he came on, was to try and make it as seamless as possible for the customer, so that like, how easy can we make it for someone to buy beer and get it delivered to them as quickly as possible, was sort of our ethos. So looking at things like one-click payments and things like that, and the ability for people to save their information, and so that, it makes it easier when they come back to purchase products really quickly.
Bernie, what about you? What are you guys using?
We use a specific platform made for food hubs and farmers markets. It's called Local Food Market. And you have options that you can use with them. You can either go there with your own merchant account, which, like Heather was saying, is a little harder to get everything synced together in a pre-developed site. So we just went with what they were offering with their gateway and merchant account. And that way everything is synced. So if I need a report on inventory, numbers of groceries, pick list for the vendors and the farmers they receive, so they know what's expected of them. They can populate their inventory, user-friendly. If the farmers markets of Nova Scotia, the association, is listening, I'd like to say thank you. They helped us a lot with identifying a platform.
Cool. So sorry, do your vendors actually control their own inventory, Bernie, or do you do that for them?
No, they 95% of them will do their own inventory.
And no
some of them
difficulty
have to help out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mitch, start with you on this one. So you go from 0 sales, all of a sudden you launch an online store. What kind of business can, have you gotten to 20%, 30%? What kind of sales levels have you been able to recover as a result to your online shop?
That's a good question. We've seen, I think for us, things are starting to level out a bit. When we first launched, it took about a week to take off, and then it really took off, like around Easter, and then it stayed high for a few weeks, and it's starting to kind of come down and level out a little bit. It probably, is making up about 20 to 30% of our sales right now, which is fantastic.
Awesome.
And the interesting thing for us is that, we still have our retail stores open, the Craft Beer Corner and Upstreet. So we haven't really seen it eat into those sales either. Now we're sort of seeing things start to level out a little bit, where I think now that people can go out and do more things, we're seeing more people come in to our retail stores to pick up product themselves, less curbside pickup, so to say. But yeah, I mean, our online sales are still really strong, and hopefully, I think hopefully they'll continue to be strong. And I think that once people get used to ordering online, it's kind of like, why would you bother going out and lining up at the liquor store or at the grocery store when you can go online and have it delivered to you? So.
And do you have a minimum order? Mitch, do you guys have a minimum order people have to make?
No, we don't. So we have delivery fees that we charge. So curbside pickup is free, and there's no minimum order for that. We have delivery fees that we charge for in Charlottetown deliveries, and there's no minimum order there. And there's no minimum order island-wide deliveries, but the delivery with island-wide is $15 for the delivery, and we do free shipping over $75.
Excellent. And Bernie, I know yours is relatively new, but what's been the recovery? What would you estimate you've been able to recover in revenue, sales? Are they close to what Mitch is talking about, or?
Well,
I think you mentioned 20 to 30%.
Different structure for us because we're a not-for-profit cooperative. So
right.
The revenue coming in for the market entity, we're at, with the online, we're about 10%. Like we're covering our costs to keep the lights open. And for the vendors themselves, I guess I'd say we have about 2,500 people coming through the market on a weekly basis. From that to selling 150 to 200 shopping bags per week. I I believe our vendors have got a big hit.
For sure. And do you have a minimum order?
We don't have a minimum order. We do charge a $5 flat fee for each order made, which goes towards the paying for the online process. We had to hire a couple of extra staff to help with organizing it. So that's, but we don't have a minimum order.
And the consumer pays that fee?
The consumer pays that fee every time they go online to order. So you buy $10 or you buy $75, there's that one-time $5 fee per order.
Flat. It's a flat fee.
Yeah.
Awesome. Heather, I'm going to start with you. What suggestions do you have for people once they have a store as to how do they attract customers to their store? What do they need to do to make sure that they're getting the traffic to their online store? What would you recommend?
Well, in our, really social media sort of saved a lot of people during this situation here. But we're local, we're a local community. It's a little different here, but depends how far you want your reach to go and all that. But certainly like search engine optimization for your website, absolutely. You should always have that whether you have a store or not, because there's no point in being online if you're not going to get found. That's point finale. But yeah, social media, and you can do ads if you wanted, like paid ads or whatnot. But my big two are search engine optimization always, and social media.
Mitch, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, we've tried. I mean, I think the approach that we've taken is just try a bunch of things and see what sticks. We've had great success with social media. I mean, we have a pretty solid social media following. And then once you're on the store, we've done a few different things. We've created a points program to try and encourage people to come back. So when you sign up and kind of leave your information, set up an account, you get so many points. When you refer a friend, you get so many points. And then as you make purchases, you get so many points. So those can be redeemed for product. We've also had a lot of great success with carrying other local products and being able to bundle those products with our products. So, doing the pizza and beer special with Piatto, with the kind of you-bake pizzas with a 6-pack of beer, or just doing bundles. This is sort of, I would say I wouldn't say it's a trade secret, but it was funny when Mikey proposed it to us, and he said, it's crazy. You just have to bundle things together and people will buy them. And so we've been doing a lot of that. We just bundle different beers together and call it something. We have like the fridge filler, which is 24 beers. It's 3 of every flavor of beer we have, and we sell a ton of them. People could very easily go in and choose their own beers and make their own fridge fillers, but when you kind of bundle it and give it a name, people like that. And it's interesting. I've kind of watched myself now that I'm going online and doing my own shopping, and I fall into the same. I do it all the time. I'm like, oh, that bundle looks great. I'll buy that. And like, I only want 2 of the 3 things, but awesome.
And more.
So I mean, trying different things like that, different promotions. It's hard for us. We can't discount our products, but we did a promotion last week where we did free shipping across the island for the long weekend, and that was very successful. We did a Mother's Day bundle where we partnered with Van Kempen's and had some cows chips and a card, some beer, and 3 little succulent plants. So things like that grab people's attention.
Excellent. Before I move over to you, Bernie, I am just going to remind all the participants that if you have questions for our esteemed panelists, please send them along and we'll make sure they get answered. So feel free to drop in any of your questions. I also just wanted to give everybody a little bit of perspective on who we have with us today. 17% of people here are chef or restaurant owners. We have 25% from the farmer fisher community. We have 17% representing government or commodity boards. and then 42% other. So what a really great cross section, and it's awesome to see, especially that farmer and fisher community looking to hopefully get their products online. So Bernie, back to you. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing to attract shoppers to your newly launched website. What are some of the innovative things that you guys are doing or thinking of doing that you think might help?
We reached out to a local comedian, Graham Putnam, and we did a little video. We thought maybe a little bit of levity with the health crisis might work in our favor. So we did they did a 30-second video I just watched, and that seemed to give us a bit of momentum. People were going online to look at it, and we had a lot of feedback from it, and then people started registering to shop. We haven't put a lot of effort on social media before. It took me 20 minutes to get onto this site to try and participate. So I'm not the social media guru here. So we hired someone, and it's been fantastic. She's doing a lot of work to do this. Shout out to Shannon Courtney. And yeah, I think we're getting a lot of feedback. We're coming up with little contests. So the top 3 most purchased gets a farmers market swag. So we've been giving out our farmers market bags. This week we're asking folks to decorate their signs as they're driving through. Usually they have their first initial and last name, and they put it in the window. So we're just asking them to, sit down with your kids and make out some big signs, and we're just going to give away T-shirts and aprons and farmers market bags. We're hoping to involve the farmers in the weeks to come with an event. So when people are coming to the market, they're still, they still get to say hello to a farmer. That's a big draw here at the market. When people socialize and come in and buy something that they know how it was grown and from who. Basically, a lot of Instagram and Facebook has been a saving grace for us. That's how we promote it.
Excellent. And just kind of building on the bundling discussion that Mitch was talking a little bit about, is there any new products perhaps you're thinking about bringing online with your stores that perhaps you think might be of interest, that maybe we have some people out there that are watching today, but is there any products that you think might work well with what you're already selling?
All I can say is just give us a call, email, and we'll see if there's room. We're always bundling. We have 38 vendors with different products. So there's always, there's 2,000 products there. So people are creating their own little bundles, but I think I like Mitch's idea of getting more people working together to present a package. I took notes.
We're all here to learn, Bernie. We're all here to learn.
Exactly.
But Mitch, any thoughts on anything you think you'd like to bundle with?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a local product section on our website, and we're really, predominantly focused on snacks or things that go well with beer. Pizza, ham pies. We have Cow's chocolate chips and cheese crisps, and the kettle chips. So any sort of anything that you think goes well with beer. Yeah, we'd be happy to look at it.
Excellent. So anyone who has some products that go well with beer, you should give Mitch a call. Heather, how do we track the success of these stores? What metrics should we be watching when we're checking out our website in terms of performance? What do we look for? What do we want to check out to make sure we're being successful?
Well, besides just your basic Google Analytics to see the general website, how it's doing or whatever, but for the platform we use, as soon as you log into the dashboard, it shows you all your orders, how many orders you've had, and breaks it down by month or whatever, and the dollar figure and all that. So I would just say that. I mean, if you just use that dollar figure against your, what else you pulled in, you can figure out the percentage within seconds, right? So it's pretty simple.
And you mentioned you have a little checklist that you go through with businesses to help them get ready to go online. Is that something you might be able to share with our community?
Yeah, I have it. So if I show my screen or whatever, we can go through. It's not long, but it's just something, you know, it's just your checklist. People don't realize or think about it. You just write it down. It's so much easier. So, yeah.
Even if we could send that out to help to people afterwards, we'd love to do that.
Sure.
What metrics do you look at, Mitch, to kind of see how things are going, to kind of keep, you know, to know what's going on, what's performing well, perhaps what's not, where you need to make tweaks?
I mean, you know, the big one is the revenue. So I mean, we set some goals and we track the daily revenue kind of week over week. We look at the conversion rate, so the number of people that come to the store versus the number of people that actually make a purchase, and try and, now we're getting into kind of the technical stuff that's slightly over my head, but you know, yeah, I mean, basically to see how many people visit the store versus how many people purchase. And then, you know, customer feedback is another big one. So, you know, that was really sort of instrumental in starting up, is getting the customer feedback, figuring out where the kinks are, and being responsive to them, and making those changes as we go along, to kind of make that seamless customer experience.
Bernie, anything to add to that in terms of metrics or things that you find helpful?
We look at our expenses for the market, ensuring that our vendors make the maximum profits they can. And conversion rate, I didn't know they called it that, but I guess this is what we're doing. 'Cause it's a bit over my head too. Looking at the amount of people who confirm and unconfirm their shopping bag, so we can see, you know, if that's rising or lowering, and just making sure we're responding to inquiries and complaints in a timely fashion.
Excellent. So I think we've covered a lot of the topics. We have no additional questions coming in from the group. I don't know if I've missed anything, or if there's anything anyone would like to add. We are going to make this webinar. We've been taping it, as Kent mentioned. We are going to put it onto our website. I know all of you personally, and I'm sure you wouldn't mind if anyone reached out with a question in response to today. And Heather, if we could share that list, we'd love to be able to share that with the community. But I really thank you for your time today. I know it's probably been a real challenge getting these, you know, launched so quickly and with limited resources and everything that's going on and costs. So the fact that you guys have been so successful with this, I think it's really great that people can learn from that. And hopefully, like you said, a lot of this will stay around into the future, and we'll start to see people using these platforms more and more. So Kent, back over to you, and thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure today.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Tracy said. So huge thanks to you taking your time out of the day. I'm sure, you know, orders have come in since we joined this webinar, and I'm sure there's bags to pack and things to get back to. So we really appreciate it. So these webinars will all be available at the Forage PEI website or the Food Island Partnership website under our resources section. And next week, we're going to kind of move on to, you know, especially in Prince Edward Island, and I think it's happening in other, we're getting a little loop there, in other maritime provinces. Or guys, could you mute? There we go. That, you know, as we're setting up operations plans and kind of returning to work and returning to spaces and welcoming our consumers back into our spaces, you know, it is going to be many less, and there's going to be restrictions. So we're going to have a panel on setting up safe workspaces. You know, things that you should be considering. You know, is there markings on the floor? Is there, you know, how do staff interact, and all of those details. So those that webinar will be promoted the same way on social media and to past attendees next Wednesday at 3 p.m. So same time. I think panelists will be in different places, and but we'll be here to answer questions. And the same as before, you know, if you have been thinking of setting up an online store and you have questions, feel free to go to the Food Island Partnership website and go to the contact us. We have all of our contacts for all 4 of our staff, and we can either connect you with panelists or kind of work through your issues and help you set them up and get you back into business, back to normal. So I want to thank everybody today, and hopefully see you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you.